There are rivalries in rugby, and then there's the All Blacks versus France. A clash of cultures, a collision of rugby philosophies, and a history soaked in drama, revenge, and jaw-dropping moments. No two teams have produced more unforgettable chaos on the world stage. Because when France meets New Zealand on the rugby field, form goes out the window and legends are born. This isn't just about trophies. This is about pride, redemption, and two nations with unfinished business every time they meet. To the brutal hits, to the flair-filled tries, this rivalry has created some of the most iconic moments the sport has ever seen. The very first time these two sides met was back in 1906. The All Blacks were already establishing themselves as a global powerhouse, having just conquered the British Isles. Their historic first match took place in Paris, and New Zealand stormed a commanding 38-8 victory. It was just the beginning of a long and complex relationship between two very different rugby nations. The All Blacks dominated in the early years, winning match after match, often by significant margins. But France was evolving, watching, learning, growing more dangerous with every encounter. Their breakthrough finally came in 1954, when they beat New Zealand for the first time in their history. A tense, scrappy 3-0 win at Columbus, but a victory that changed the tone of the rivalry forever. France was no longer just a guest at the party, they had arrived. By the 1970s, the rivalry had become more balanced. In 1979, France stunned the All Blacks at Eden Park with a thrilling 24-19 victory, only the second time New Zealand had lost on home soil. Legendary players like Jean-Pierre Rivalry, Sergio Blanco, and Philippe Sala were starting to define French rugby's golden generation, and they weren't afraid of anyone. But perhaps the most unforgettable moment of the pre-professional era came in 1994. It was the try from the end of the world. France had already won the first test in Christchurch, an achievement on its own. But in the second test at Eden Park, down by 4 points with minutes to go, they launched an attacking sequence that would go down in rugby folklore. Starting from their own 22, every French player touched the ball, and it ended with Jean-Luc Soroni diving over the corner. France won the match, won the series, and left an entire stadium stunned in silence. No European side had ever done what they had just done. The All Blacks weren't just beaten, they were outclassed on their own turf. If the 1990s built the tension, the Rugby World Cups would explode it. In 1999, in the semi-final in Twickenham, All Blacks had Jonah Lomu. They had Christian Cullen, they had the aura. And they were 24-10 up early in the second half. Game over, right? Not against France. Christophe Lamasson orchestrated a second half blitz that defied belief. Drop goals, penalties, and 2 tries saw France rack up 33 unanswered points. Final score, 43-31. One of the greatest comebacks in rugby history. The All Blacks were shell-shocked. The world was stunned. In the year 2000, another World Cup, another nightmare for New Zealand. This time, it was the quarterfinal in Cardiff. The All Blacks again favourites. Again, undone by a French side they had no business winning on paper. But they had belief. They had heart, and they had Thierry du Sautoir. The French flanker made an astonishing 38 tackles in the match. Still a World Cup record. He scored a try, led from the front, and broke All Blacks' hearts. France won 20-18 in one of the most controversial games ever played, marked by debatable refereeing and a lack of New Zealand substitutions. The French didn't care, they had done it again. By 2011, revenge was on New Zealand's mind. The World Cup final, at home, at Eden Park, and once again, France stood in the way. The final was brutal, tactical, and low scoring. Tony Woodcock crashed over for a try. Stephen Donald, called up from a fishing trip, slotted a pressure penalty. France responded with a try of their own, but it wasn't enough. New Zealand edged it by 8 points to 7 in the most nerve-wracking final the sport has ever seen. Du Sautoir was magnificent again, earning player of the match. But the All Blacks finally exercised their French demons, but just barely. From 2011 onwards, the rivalry quieted slightly, but never died. In 2013, New Zealand delivered a clinical 3-0 series sweep over France, showing the depth and structure the Steve Hansen era had built. Kieran Reid, Ben Smith and Ma'anonu were at their peak, and the All Blacks played with ruthless efficiency. France, meanwhile, struggled to rebuild. But in 2017, something shifted again. France held New Zealand to a controversial 38-18 result in Paris, where referee decisions again become part of the narrative. The All Blacks aura remained, but the French were circling again. New names like Antoine Dupont, Romain Namac, and Damien Penon were rising. France had flair again, but flair with control. Then came the 2023 Rugby World Cup. Stade de France. Opening night, a new chapter, New Zealand vs France once again. The All Blacks had never lost a pool match in the Rugby World Cup history, until now. France dominated the breakdown. Thomas Ramos was magnificent off the tee. Dupont was everywhere. Melvin Jamon added to the try and sealed a victory of 27 points to 13. France had landed a psychological blow and done it with style. The Autumn Nations Series in 2024 added even more spice. This wasn't a one-off. France edged New Zealand 30-29 in one of the games of the year. The All Blacks were physical and creative, but the French played smart, stayed calm and found a way. That win made it 3 in a row against New Zealand, something France hadn't achieved since the late 1950s. Key players have shaped the rivalries for decades. For France, Sergio Blanco, the dazzling fullback who could split defences with ease. Fabien Pelos, the rock-solid lock who captained with pride. Frédéric Michalak, the merciful fly half with ice in his veins. And now, Antoine Dupont, the face of modern French rugby, widely regarded as one of the best players in the world. On the All Black side, Colin Meads, the enforcer. John Olomu, the unstoppable force who terrorised French defences in the 1995 semi-final. Richie McCaw, the general who embodied the All Blacks' legacy. Dan Carter, whose boot and brain delivered ice-cold execution. And more recently, Adi Savia, whose explosive pace and breakdown mastery made him a nightmare for any side, including France. The Dave Gallagher Trophy, introduced in 2000, is contested when two nations meet in a series format. Though New Zealand has held it more often, France treats it as a symbol of resistance. Gallagher, after all, died on the French soil during World War I. Every contest for the trophy carries extra emotional weight. And now 2025 looms on the horizon. There are discussions for the All Blacks and France to square off in the United States. A neutral battleground aimed at growing the sport globally. If confirmed, this test would mark the first between these nations on American soil. A new stage, a new audience, but the same rivalry. What makes this matchup so magnificent isn't just the results, it's the contrast. The black jersey versus the blue. The methodical versus the merciful. The haka versus the French flair. It's structure clashing with chaos. Power meeting poise, and every time they play, the result hangs by a thread. No other international fixture feels quite like it. Whether it's the pressure of a World Cup, the pride of a Test series, or the simple desire to prove a point, All Blacks vs France always delivers. Always. This isn't just a rivalry built on proximity. It's built on pain, glory, and the memories etched into rugby's DNA. So the next time these two giants face off, whether in Paris, Auckland, or even Los Angeles, don't blink, because one moment of brilliance or one fumble ball could rewrite the history books all over again. If you love this deep dive into the All Blacks vs France rivalry, smash the like button, share it with a fellow rugby fan, and don't forget to subscribe for more epic rugby stories, breakdowns, and rivalries from all around the world. Thanks guys, see you next time.